Welcome to How Women Inspire. My guest today is Liz Sklar. She's the director of Stand and Deliver. This is your moment now to lean into thinking about how you show up powerfully with your voice. She works with clients like Genentech, Gilead, Twilio, Google, everybody, Waymo, and How Women Lead and the Cartier Women's Initiative. Liz's work has crossed industries from pharma to finance, and frequently she's focusing on leaders in the innovation economy. So if that meets any of your definitions, definitely lean in even more. Liz is the most well-known for her 2-decade-long career as a theater artist. How do those connect? That'll be part of what we talk about today. She's performed in Lady Macbeth a couple times in New York City, in the California Shakespeare Festival, and hoping for number 3 in the next decade. She's received awards for the Best Actress from the Bay Area Theater Critics Circle and Broadway World. And here's the bridge. She's using her expertise that she's built as a director at Stand and Deliver, and she's helping leaders develop their immense capacity to lead. And this is really through using your voice and your communication to really inspire other people. Think about that. All of us we know our craft and what we do on a day-to-day basis. How do we get a little Liz and be the show up and be able to communicate it in a way where audiences have fun, they lean in, our message is sticky, and they remember it. I have been part of the programming that she and Stand and Deliver offer at least 5 times. It is absolutely essential for my own journey, and they're giving back to How Women Lead in a significant way as big partners for us, for all of our social impact leaders. I am so excited for you to meet Liz Sklar today. There's so much more to her, which is really going to be something that's exciting for us to lean into. She's got 2 daughters. She lives in the Bay Area, and in her free time, she plays the ukulele. That's an interesting story. She bakes bread and she takes long walks in the woods, which you have to do if you live in the Bay Area. Like, how can you not? That's the point. I'm so honored to have you here today, Liz. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much, Julie, for this absolutely amazing introduction. I feel almost intimidated by myself at this point, but I'm
Oh, for
so
crying out loud. Well, I know you, so it is not overstated. It is in fact understated. It's so beautiful to see how you have taken one discipline and turned it into a massive asset for others. And in so many ways, that's what we need in the world. That's why the arts are so important, is really connecting all of that. And really, to me, the arts is about the human experience
Mm.
and connecting deeply to it. And so that's part of what I think is missing sometimes in our corporate communications. And that's what you do so beautifully. Let's start with a little bit of fun, though, because you are very fun. What would be, I mean, think about it, just been like theater goddess. What is that theme song or that song that you listen to in the good times or the tough days or?
I knew you were going to ask me this question, so I came up with a couple ideas. The first one is the first thing that came to my mind because when I need to just sing it out in my car, I play this song and it's Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh,
You get to do all the range, the whole
ah,
thing.
it's like
Um,
heart lifting and exploding. It's
Yes,
wonderful.
exactly. My poor
Yeah.
children cringe in the back seat. But the one that I think is really this anthem song that's really come to me over the past 3 to 4 years is All I Know So Far by Pink. Found it in the middle of the pandemic while I was homeschooling my 2 children and wondering what in the world I'm going to do, and had a couple friends going through some really challenging health situations. And one of my friends, right before she was about to have a surgery, said, "Can you please send me a video of you having a solo dance party? We can't be together, but I want a
Oh,
video." And I found this song and I said, "This is my song. I don't know everything, but I know a little bit." And I learned to play it on the ukulele, by the way, tie-in. And I play it whenever I have a dance party. And it's what I love about it is that it's both like an anthem of power, also an acknowledgement of all the things we don't know still, and also a love song.
oh.
And having all 3 of those pieces together really allow me to go on a journey every time I listen to it.
Oh my God, your friend, what a gift for her.
Yeah.
If you're having a really tough time and you just need that, oh my goodness, aren't you beautiful? Well, all right. So let's now weave the story of you. So Liz, you went to the American Conservatory of Theater, ACT, and this is one of the best MFA programs in acting in the country. Annette Bening, Annika Noni Rose, Elizabeth Banks are all alums. And even more importantly, Liz Sklar is an alum. But still, your family wasn't involved in the arts and they were in a super competitive field. I imagine it wasn't easy for you to say, this is the contribution I'm bringing to the world. How did you actually like get through that transition with them that create that story?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you simply, it was my stubbornness that got me there.
Right.
When I was a young girl, I saw on stage, I was in like first or second grade, and I saw this eighth grader playing Dorothy in Wizard of Oz. And I have this such a clear memory of seeing her backstage because I got to sneak backstage with these like ribbons in her hair and this just glow.
Yeah.
And there was something about seeing her in that moment, that ability she had to bring people towards her that made me feel just like, that's what I want. And so then I had to wait
Yeah.
several more years before I could audition for a play. But it turns out I was really a shy kid. And the first time I auditioned for a play, I was so scared and I got up there and completely mumbled. And so, of course, I got a terrible role.
Yeah.
And I was like a little tiny person in the side. And on top of that, I was on the side of the stage. And on top of that, the curtain didn't open all the way. And so I don't think anyone even saw
Classic.
me.
All of the above.
Yeah. So of course I was mad that I
Uh-huh.
showed up to the next audition and was like, I will be talking with my biggest
Yeah.
voice possible. I am Liz Sklar. I will take any part. Here is my nursery rhyme. And I got that.
Oh, honey. I mean,
Um,
all of us sort of our hearts just imagine that little Liz.
and I think that part of me stuck, that desire to
Fierce
make
girl power.
yeah, to get what I wanted and also to make the connections. And I
Yeah.
continued to have moments of not quite getting it and pushing through that made it happen. Even going to ACT, I didn't get in the first time. I didn't get
Uh-huh.
in the second time.
It's a hard place to get in.
Yeah. And I didn't get in the third time. And at
Yeah.
that point, I was having family members, my aunt come up to me at Thanksgiving saying, Liz, what's up? What are you going to do next?
Yeah.
And it was a real turning point for me because I had to decide that I wasn't just trying to be an actor. I was an actor. And part of my journey was getting the education. Yeah, and it was fascinating because I went and talked to the director of the program who ended up inviting me into the program after my fourth attempt. And I said, What was the difference? And she said, you walked into the room differently. And
Made a decision. I am an actor.
yes. And that's, I think, something even to this day, as I work with clients across industries, CEOs or emerging leaders, is making the choice about your beliefs that I am. Now, my voice is necessary in this room. And so, as you think about, I mean, everyone who's listening at your journey, where are the places where you can say to yourself, it's not that I'm trying to, but I am and I can.
Oh my God. That's brilliant. That's a mic drop moment, Liz. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. So you found this and then you made this beautiful journey into successful, award-winning theater. How did you decide to, and what are you bringing from that into what you do now? What I know of you as is sort of corporate women or women who are on a mission, or people helping them turn their expertise into a really compelling, inspiring verbal communication and whatever way that is, speeches
Yeah.
to, plus, plus. Yeah.
Well, Julie, I hear like sort of two questions in that. One is like, how did I end up making that transition? And then also, what is it that I bring from the theater
Yeah.
world into the work I do with leaders? And in terms of the first part, I mean, I think the big transition for me was making a choice that I wanted to not just tell the stories, but help other people tell their stories.
Yeah.
And especially, I made this transition like at the very beginning of the pandemic to really focus on this work. And I mean, part of it was that the theaters there wasn't as much work, but also the other part was that I was starting to feel like I could have more impact on the world.
Yeah.
Like theater has huge impacts, of course, but also I wanted to touch individuals. I wanted to be a supporter and a mentor and bring what I had to give.
You know what I wanted to just say about that is I'm 56. I've seen a lot of life, right? We all have lots of phases to life. And that little Liz convincing her parents, we all think or thought, I'm sure your parents thought she's going to be an actor and that's it. And then it's going to be hard when she's 35 or 40 and she can't do what she wants to do. I think we all need to take a pause and be like, and it's whether it's the arts and acting, whatever it is, right? We all have times in our life and you can pivot to the next thing. It scaffolds from one to another. And just having grace with ourselves and allowing ourselves to have different parts of ourselves have different moments and different lives. I have a daughter who's both a violinist and she works in tech. Like how can you live a life where you have different phases? It's beautiful to share this example.
Yeah, and I think also, Julie, that ties totally into the thing that I bring from the arts, which is that we are not just one thing. As that little Liz, in that story, I thought I had to be something else. And as I went deeper in my training as an artist, and as I went deeper in my career as a performer, what I found when navigating becoming another character was that I wasn't becoming another character. I was finding the part of me that could do that thing.
Yeah. And you grew up with that language and everything in your family. Like that was all familiar to you too. So it wasn't like it was completely foreign, I would think. Yeah.
Well, and I had such support from my family. I mean, I think that's another thing as a mother that I continue to take home is like, how can I just support the potential,
Of
whatever
whatever.
they're interested in?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think all of this, a lot of people listening to this, we are parents and we're all ourselves often in a pivot moment in your 40s and 50s, like, or even 60s. Like we keep thinking like, who am I now? It's a very transitional period of time because it's not like you're just climbing up a corporate ladder. You're like, what's next? And what's next in this portfolio life or the board career or whatever it is.
And I think also, how can we peel back the layers for more connection? I'm
Mm,
noticing that in my growing age that I'm looking for ways, how can I peel back the layers so I can be more authentic myself? And when working with leaders, I'm always walking into the room saying, what is it that makes you the right person to speak now? And peel back the layers of trying to be something else so that your authentic voice can come through. I was working recently with the chief of staff who's interested in becoming the CEO. And she was trying to be the leader of the CEO of her organization, trying to be that same leader,
Oh, now
trying
to
to be something
remember.
other. How can I be that
Yeah.
inspirational leader? How can I be
Yeah.
that big idea leader? How can I be that magnetic leader? And I kept asking her the question, like, what part of you is magnetic? And what
Yeah.
kind of leader are you?
Yeah. What type of leader? So you're working with all these corporate leaders and you have a beautiful different lens. You get to see them with this with your own frame.
Yeah.
I bet you have a really clear view into sort of, and also, of course, just because you're working with them, you get to see what are we struggling with today? What are leaders having the biggest challenge with, and what do we all could all work on?
Well, there are lots of things, but I think the two things across industries that I keep seeing over and over again is one is just managing stress right now, and the other is influencing without authority. Both of these things kind of come into the context of having such a transition in the way that we work, in how we work. It's not the first time there's been a transformation in how we work, but it is something new for us in
Yeah.
terms of the boundaries aren't as clear. And as I continue to work with people, I think in terms of managing the stress,
Yeah.
it's not just about having a nice bubble bath or taking a walk. It's also about defining what your boundaries are,
Yeah.
defining what your values are, and then making choices based on those.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to make the choice today to say no, but you might be able to say, in 1 year, I want to make that choice. I want to be able to say no to that so I can do something else.
Oh, I love that, giving yourself space. It's not like the stress of like the New Year's resolution. I have to start today.
Yeah. I don't know if you've read this book or heard of it, but Dr. Pooja Lakshmin about real self-care. It was transformative for me and I'm still like working through it, but just choosing that space, the pause to
I love
breathe.
Yeah.
And that comes up in communication as well. So often we end up in these moments when we're talking with someone and we feel like we have to have the answer or we
Yeah.
have to show them how to move forward
Yeah.
and we jump into it. But taking that pause, breathing,
Yeah.
shifting your state so that you can authentically communicate with another person is what makes the difference in terms of influence.
I'm not asking for permission anymore. I'm not asking for a seat at the table. My friends, this is the first generation of us. We have a huge opportunity. We have power and influence and wealth. And we can start building the tables where we get the prime seats. Today, we want to invite you to join us as investors in venture. I know no one's asked you to do it before. It might be something that seems scary or foreign, but I promise you it's not that different than investing in a mutual fund where your retirement funds are. I want you to lean in and just learn a little bit more. How about making the commitment that in the next 12 months, you can give yourself 12 months to figure it out and to take a step? I want to invite you to be part of the new table of power and influence and wealth. You're invited. I want to sit at the table with you because we're going to make big change. We're going to make the world we've been dreaming of. I love that. I've been talking to my daughter, who's 31 and manager and stuff, and coaching her on like, what do you do when someone comes at you with something and you feel like I better respond? And it's like that sort of like, what if you just like take a deep breath and you say, wow, that's a great question. And you give yourself a connector to give
Yeah.
yourself space to reset your own thinking, your own energy you're bringing to it, and come up with like, let me ask you a clarifying question, as opposed to responding like in an interview or something, right? I think I learned
Yeah.
that.
I mean, maybe we at Stand and
Yeah,
Deliver are so about that, and I
yeah,
couldn't be more
yeah,
about it. It's
yeah.
like, how can you actually stop and listen to what the other person is saying, what the other person is bringing, so that
Mhm.
you can formulate a response that's in that moment.
Yeah.
That's not the language that's going on in your head already.
These are beautiful reminders. And I just think all of us through the pandemic, are we working from home? Are we not? What are we hybrid? All of it makes this very complex relationship to work. And it's great that you can take off and either do family obligations or go to the gym in the middle of the day. And yet, if you're still working 14-hour days and always looking at your phone, you really aren't ever really giving yourself the boundary. So I love that as just a reminder. And that's the work of, it's a new set of work. It's a new type of thinking that we all need to get our arms around.
And we're having to make a choice around it. We
Yeah.
used to be able to let the job make the choice for us. We go to work and that's when we think about
Yeah.
work. And then we
Yeah.
leave work and then we stop. But now we have to make the choices around it.
And you drive home and you have transition time,
Yeah.
right? Or get on a bus or whatever you're doing.
And also, I think blurring those boundaries means that we're not actually focused in either place. How can we really make
Oh,
a choice for
true.
ourselves so
Oh
that
God, Liz, now I have all this work to do after this
I'm
conversation to
so
like read.
sorry.
No, no, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's the best. You know, because it really shining a light on, my husband's retired now, and I'm like, how am I paying enough attention to him and not just like transacting, right? It's a new relationship as I'm working from home and he's here and stuff. It's very interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have children right now at
Mhm.
home, which is such a big part of one's life and your life, and you're also consulting in your career in theater. Has being a mother, I know it has for me, has it impacted what you do? Has it made you different as a leader?
Yeah, I would say even it's made me a better leader in some ways. I mean, first off, like I get to practice my leadership every single moment of the day because I'm having to create boundaries and influence my children to put their shoes on and walk out the door. They're 8 and 11. So that takes a lot of influence that I need to
Not
manifest.
sure that the shorts are gonna work in the winter when it's freezing and raining and
Exactly. What
snowing.
are you doing today? And how are you? What's most important to you in this day? I know you really want to be able to play outside, but I think even from the very first moment when I became a mom, I mean, this is a story back. I'm pregnant. I'm literally 1 week away from my due date. And I'm at home with my husband and we're watching a movie and I hear this clicking sound in my ear. And I don't think much of it. I go to sleep and I wake up 2 hours later and I don't hear anything out of my right ear. I'm a week before I'm about to give birth. And anyone who's listening, or maybe you, Julie, know the feeling the week before you're about to give birth, your emotions are like kushunk, as high as they can be, up and down.
And you're in theater and your ear is so important. I mean, 1,000 reasons I can just imagine.
And so I go into this spiral. And I go to the doctor. They say it's sudden hearing loss. We don't know exactly what causes it. It may have something to do with pregnancy. We're not sure. So they tell me perhaps once you give birth, your hearing might come back. So I said, okay, great. We got to get this baby out now. Now I ate all the pineapple in the world. I had as much spicy food as I could, and I walked to the top of the hills of San Francisco every day, 2 times a day.
Squatting
Yeah,
the whole way.
the whole way. And then I wrote my daughter a letter saying, I'm so sorry. My ear doesn't work anymore. I don't know how I'm going to be a mom, but I promise you, if you come, I'll be the best mom I can. I love you so much. Please come, baby girl. I give birth. My hearing doesn't come back. And I'm still very scared. And then I realized, Julie, there is hope, because when your baby is crying and you can't hear out of one ear, you can put your good ear down and still get some rest.
Oh my goodness. Well, that is, I mean, I guess that's a good reframe, but
But
that's
the
that
thing that
that's
really,
awesome.
really caught me here was that I was really convinced that this part of me that broke a little bit meant that I couldn't be a great mom. And I think so often we find these things in ourselves that we think are a little bit broken, and it means we can't. And I realized that actually I can, and that this isn't a broken piece of me. It allows it's part of who I am. It allows me empathy for everyone who's dealing with things where they feel a little bit broken, and allows me to just see that we are all whole in a way that I'm still whole even when something's a little bit off. And so
My
that's
goodness.
one thing. So even for them, when I'm being a mom to them or when I'm working with clients
Yeah,
at Stand and Deliver, we really believe people are whole
yeah.
no matter what. We're not trying to fix anyone, but we're trying to find that peace that is the spark that can ignite humans around you.
Well, I've seen you do that. And so you have been so generous, you and Stand and Deliver, with our Women Leaders for the World
Mhm.
program. We bring social impact leaders from around the globe who could never access the kind of opportunity that they get through Stand and Deliver. And I'd love to sort of hear sort of why is that important to you? Why is it important to you? They work with them. And have you ever had any moments of joy and inspiration from that?
Oh my gosh, so many. So many, Julie. No, honestly, that's one of the main reasons that I do this work, is so that I get to work with women like that. I work with both, Women Leaders for the World, other groups that you have at How Women Lead. I work with Cartier, and the inspiration that I get from working with these women makes it worth it.
Yeah.
And the power of the impact that I can have, not just on my immediate circle, not just on the tech world, but on people in Pakistan, on people in Africa, like the potential that we have to uplift these women, make them, like you do every day, unabashedly visible, these badass leaders. And I have two moments that really stick out to me. We were working with one woman through Women Leaders for the World, and she was this young woman from Africa helping women get feminine products.
Yeah.
And she was so nervous to do this work. And we sat with her in, a Zoom room with people from all over the world and said, just say what the people you're talking to care about.
Yeah.
And she looked directly into the camera and started speaking. And the whole room, I mean, all of us were in tears by the end. And at the end, she starts crying. And we all said, "How are you?" And she said, "I've never been able to talk like that." And like the power that she can have to move that room of women, and the power that we can all have by creating space for each other to speak our truth, is so powerful. And then the other moment I had was through working with this woman in Pakistan, and she used to have a stutter, and she was helping women, helping communities in that area, in, smaller communities outside the big cities, figure out ways to get fresh water, not by
Yeah.
using money, but by using their goats. And she's always been nervous to talk out loud and to speak. Those moments of standing up and just taking the time to work with her
Mm.
through her speeches, through her communication, through the way she's talking with investors. She wrote me back and said, "This has been so transformative in how I'm speaking with people." And just that feeling that I might have an impact on somebody with a goat in Pakistan is like, I could never have done that just being a theater artist. And
Yeah.
so those are the two things that stand out for me.
All right. Well, this is not on video, but she's got me crying over here because I've seen the transformation that happens for women in those programs. And you also work with our Visible Impact program, which is mostly corporate women or women who have a little more capacity. And the moment that light bulb happens when someone's like, oh my God, I can actually get it out of my head and get it across to somebody in the way that I haven't been able to do before is monumental, because to raise money, to get your movement across, to lead your team and inspire them to influence people. It is, this is literally the most essential skill you have as a leader, as a CEO and executive director. And I think we often take it for granted that if I'm a competent technologist, finance person, governance leader, if I know regulatory, whatever it is, that should be the thing. And every single leader should have time with you and Stand and Deliver All the time. I would want to say at the beginning of their leadership journey, I've done it 5 times. I need to do it 10 times more. I need to literally do a stand and deliver once every 6 months or more. I mean, it is that thing that it's like, you are so holistic about it. It resets your thinking. It's not just what I liked about the first time I did stand and deliver, I was like, "Oh, great," because I'm so nerdy and so in my brain, I'm like, "Oh, good, there's a formula." And then you guys are like, "All right, I gave you the formula. Fine, good. All right, now let's actually work on how to really get that going." And then your grace and skill in saying, just say what the impact is on people. Like that
Yeah. Well,
is
you're just
such a
touching on something that's so important to us and to me. It's like there's the content is totally important. Like, what are the words you're saying and how are you speaking towards the listener's needs? And I mean, that comes back to my theater training again. Like, that's what I did every day in my classes at ACT and in the work that I did on stage was like, why is someone doing what they're doing? And how can I speak to that? And that's what we ask people to do when we talk about your content. And then the delivery. I say to everyone, you may not be a voiceover actor, you may not be an opera singer, but you make a living with your voice. How does how you say what you say impact how people receive it?
yeah,
And then the last part is that part that's the sticky part. And maybe the most important is like, how are you showing up in
yeah.
your state?
I mean, for so many of us, I think that that's absolutely the point. That's the thing too, that's so critical. Because if you are too in your head, if you're too nervous, if you're too whatever, you can't actually get it across authentically and connect with the audience. You have to actually care about them and their
Yeah.
experience of the message more than you care about what you're trying to say even. I think that takes a lot of experience too.
It also takes just being two things. It takes, first off, taking the energy off you and onto your listener, like you just said. It's not about me or how I look or what I'm doing. It's like, what are they getting? What do they need? How are they receiving it? And if you just shift your focus in that direction, it makes a huge difference.
It
And the
totally does.
other thing is that nervousness and excitement are almost the exact same emotion. And how can we reframe ourselves? Famous actors, myself, not famous, but included.
I know. I
Kind of
heard those words.
every once in a while, I come to a program there and say, Liz Sklar, and they say, yeah, that's me. But that moment before I go on stage, it's never that I don't feel nervous. It's always that I'm willing to feel nervous, that I'm okay with it, that it reminds me that this is something that's important.
Yeah.
And boom.
Oh my goodness. Liz, okay, part of what I want to do is say, okay, can you give us the technical how-tos? But you know what? Sign up to be a global advisor and you can be part of Stand and Deliver or be a fellow if that's right size for you. And you can be part of the Stand and Deliver program through How Women Lead or sign up for Stand and Deliver or talk to Liz directly if you want to master this. And the truth is, I'm going to say to everybody listening, you need to master this and you need to do it over and over and over again. If you took one course and you think you're okay, do it again. It is a lifetime journey because your story and your energy and your body are constantly shifting. And to be able to really be masterful, you have one chance with a lot of connections. And I feel like I'm doing a commercial for you, but no, really, really, really. I mean, as a leader, this couldn't be more important. And it made a lot of difference for our mission in being able to really get our movement at How Women Lead and How Women Invest and How Women Give, like all of the beautiful work we do to change the world for women. This is all part of it. So thank you for your time today and your authentic gift and sharing your own vulnerabilities and challenges that you've totally pivoted. What a beautiful mom and leader you are. What beautiful, lucky, lucky girl. Yeah, your baby and babies, right? Too.
Ew, yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're so lucky to have you as their mom.
Oh, thank you, Julie. I hope you
So,
tell them that.
so thanks for all your commitment to all of us.